At the end of last season with our Meowby side, I said that we should hopefully be able to convince the board to give us a bit more money to spend over our, I was going to say summer transfer window, over the winter transfer window, the pre-season transfer window, and they have done exactly that. They've increased our wage budget by just £5,000 over what we're currently spending, but we also have a £3.4 million transfer budget, which is absolutely massive. Some of this transfer budget we have already spent as well. Frank Borner is the first man through the door. We've signed him from SV Zams, a team that I mentioned last season. They have lots of half-decent footballers available on free transfers. Borner is another one. He's joined the club. And we have gone over to Peru to sign Roberto Hidalgo from Universitario. Still not quite sure if that's how that's said, for £175,000, which I think is a good bit of business, possibly going to 185. Definitely one for the future, but also can probably do a job for us now. We have also made an absolutely massive profit on Carl Cumberbatch. We signed him over the summer last season. He played twice for us, and we've now sold him to Barnsley for £700,000, starting off at 525, but possibly going all the way up to £700,000. That's just free money. That's good. We've also released Marvin Kabaya on a free transfer and Daniel Bergstrom, both of them leaving on free transfers. I'm not convinced these were necessarily the best idea, but I feel like we can now get better players than what they were, so I'm kind of happy with it. So the plans for this season is win everything, right? Last year, we finished third place in the Swedish Premier Division. I would love to basically be in a similar position, maybe pushing a little bit closer to the title. Europa Conference League, we are still in it at the moment. Obviously, when we hit the summer, we're going to move up into the Europa League, unless we win the Europa Conference League as well. That's a thing that could possibly, it's not going to happen, but it could possibly happen. And I'd love to win the Swedish Cup. I don't think that one's going to happen, though. So, without further ado, let's jump forward then to the end of our initial transfer window, see whether we spent any of this £3.4 million, and what have we managed to buy. 5 more players have joined the club, and our transfer budget has skyrocketed to £10 million. And now you're wondering, how have we managed to do that? And I'll tell you now, I don't really know. Well, I do know, and it's a similar thing. I believe this happened with Helsingborg as well, with another player that I managed to sell to somebody for stupid money, or even possibly in my Pogon save, where I sold a player. I agreed to sell Galamba for £600,000. You can see there, £600,000. He is joining AC Milan for, can we find out, 9.5 million. I don't know why. I agreed £600,000. Everyone was happy and the board went, no, it should be, I think, 625. So I offered them 625 and Milan came back and went, how about 9.5 million? So, I mean, of course we've accepted that. I did think this might happen last season, obviously not with that kind of money coming into the club, but the fact that we've got 9.5 million for him is ridiculous. Oh, and he's still here. He's still here. He's not leaving technically until the 1st of July, and then he's going to return on loan until the end of the season. So we're not losing him for this year at all. We have done some additional sales as well. Aki Anderson has left the club for a reasonable fee, going to Göteborg for 725, possibly going up to 900,000. We've sold Hamlet Lecourt. He has gone to Malmo. Basically, I didn't really want him anymore. We've kind of done a little bit of business to buy someone better. £105,000. And also Roberto Hidalgo, who we signed earlier on, literally 2 months ago. He's gone out on loan to Varnamo for the rest of the season, which I think is going to be some good for him. We've also brought in a bunch of players, so let's take a look. Starting off with a former Helsingborg player, Obina Asuji, the 22-year-old Nigerian attack midfielder and striker, has joined on a free transfer. He's going to be a bit of a fringe player. Maybe we loan him out. He's still only 22, so got plenty of time to get better, which hopefully he can do that. He's already pretty good. We've also signed Swedish defender Aliou Atli Mane. He has come in from Sirius. His contract expired. We picked him up. Basically, we needed some more Swedish players. He was available on a free. I thought, let's go for it. And we've also signed Thierry Atangana on a free transfer from Canon Yuande, might be how that's pronounced. The 18-year-old Cameroonian left-back with under 20 caps. He's got 4 of them in total, has joined the club on a free. I think he's good, not good enough at the moment. Hopefully get him some loan business elsewhere, and maybe in the summer or next season, he could be a starter. We've also signed Willie Jakobsen. He's a 34-year-old Swedish goalkeeper. He signed from Landskrona because basically, I think he's pretty good. Yes, he's 34. For £145,000 might be a bit steep, but he's going to be kind of a backup, maybe getting in the first team. He's already played apparently 4 Swedish Cup games. I don't know whether they were for us though. I imagine they probably were. It does look like they might have actually been for us. And the final player we have brought in is Daniel Adjamang Badu, who's a 21-year-old Ghanaian international signed from Asante Kotoko over in his native Ghana. £325,000 for this one. I think this one is definitely one for the future, but also one for now. He's going to get a lot of football playing for us. That is our transfer business. That is literally all we've managed to do. And you might be thinking, yes, we did sell our number one goalkeeper. Who's our number one now? And looking at our squad, the answer is any one of these three. And by the looks of it, all three of them have been our number one. So Jakobsen's played 3, Star Wars has played twice, and Borna has also played twice. This is kind of why I was okay with getting rid of Lacour, because we've got 3 goalkeepers now who I think could be good enough. I think Borna might need to be our number one. He's our highest paid goalkeeper, and he's also our youngest goalkeeper. However, I think Jakobsen's probably our best goalkeeper, but he is 34. Some other things to mention. We've made it to the Swedish Cup final once again, up against Bromwich-Parkana this time around, which means we should be in Europe. In fact, we are going to be in Europe next season anyway. But the fact that we managed to get to 2 finals in a row means that there is a slim chance, and by slim, a 50-50 chance maybe, of actually winning this time. In the Europa Conference League, we have been knocked out. In the round of 16, we lose 6-4 on aggregate, but it does mean we did beat TSV Hartberg at one point. We beat them, 3-2, I believe, at home. So we picked up some coefficient points for that, but we are out of the Europa Conference League, which is annoying. A Europa Conference League, by the way, that was won by Helsingborg. Helsingborg won the Europa Conference League. That's amazing. I did not even realise that. Helsingborg have won the Europa Conference League. I'm now intrigued to see. So if we go past winners and then just go up to Europa League, surely there's no one in here. No, it doesn't look like it is. Champions League, obviously, I feel like that's definitely not going to have happened. But Helsingborg have won the Europa Conference League. We've done a thing. I feel like we've done a thing in building a nation of Sweden, and it's taken, 14 years. Obviously, the Swedish Premier Division, or the Allsvenska, has not kicked off just yet, but from a season preview perspective, we are still expected to finish down the wrong end of the table in 11th place. We are in the Europa League, which will kick off in July, I believe, for us. I've got high hopes that we can finish 5th or above once again. That needs to be the target every single season for the next few years at the very least. And if we can do that, I think we should have turned Mjällby into a pretty decent Swedish side, much like we did with Helsingborg. And maybe we look at moving on from Mjällby within the next maybe 3 or 4 seasons and possibly take over somebody else. And I was going to say the word fallen giant, but I don't think it's a fallen giant, but maybe we look in the Swedish second division and look at teams like AIK, who are a good side. We've got Sundsvall, who've been up in the top division, Norrköping, Värnamo. In fact, Norrköping, I believe, might have won the first or second season of the Allsvenska in this save. So there's some big teams in the second division, so possibly maybe we move on in the future, pick up one of those teams, return them back to their former glory, and that might be where we end. And by end, I mean spend 10 seasons with that team, potentially. Just to confirm to you as well, we're not locking anybody in for the first part of the season. We're now going to jump forward to the start of the next transfer window, see how well things have gone on. It wasn't as close as last season, but we have once again lost the Swedish Cup final. We managed to take the lead as well with a penalty from Frolkin, but then we go 2-1 down. Ibrahim pulls one back to make it 2-2, but then later on, 75th minute and the 86th minute, 2 goals from Bromwich-Parkana mean that they pick up the Swedish Cup. We are twice runners-up now in the Swedish Cup. But we might also be runners-up in the Swedish Premier Division. We are 3 points behind Helsingborg, and we are 3 points clear of Djurgården. So if we win that game in hand, we will go joint top of the table. Unless we win 7-0 or more, we will go top of the table, which I don't think is going to happen, obviously. But the fact that we are close to Helsingborg is a very, very good sign. I said this last season that we might have spent too much money on Leonardo Dominguez, and I've proved myself right. We have already moved it on at a cut price of 1.75, potentially going up to 2.15. He scored 1 goal over the course of a season and a half, and he's basically played 17 games. It's not good enough. We've got a fair return from him. Realistically, that's not too bad. But the fact that we spent so much money on him and he was absolutely awful kind of annoyed me. And the other thing that has happened is Galamba has obviously left the club. He is now permanently signed for Milan but has returned on loan till the end of the season. The fact that we got £9.5 million for him is just ridiculous. We obviously haven't done any transfer business yet because the window literally opened at midnight today, but these ones kind of happened a few days ago for us. We have got to spend £5 million, £5.5 million in fact, because we did spend obviously some of that Galamba money earlier on in the season. And I just want to point out that we do have a 50% sell-on for Galamba as well. So if he does move on from Milan, we get half of that cash extra, which is just silly. So let's jump forward then to around the start of September. Let's see if we can spend this £5 million. Let's also hope that we can kind of push ourselves to the top of the Swedish Premier Division. And also, we haven't kicked it off yet, but see how well things go in the Europa League, because we go straight in at the league phase. It's been a busy summer. 9 players have joined the club and nobody else has left. A bunch of loans have gone out, but no one else has left on a permanent deal. Tobias Edlund, first up, Swedish footballer, signed from Melbourne Victory on a free transfer after his contract expired. He's going to be a good player playing on that left-hand side. Leon Schmidt, another player who has signed from SV Zams, has joined on a free transfer. I think he's good. He's not amazing, but he kind of just gives us a bit more squad depth. Possibly we look at loaning him out over the winter break for next season. Emil Engholm has joined for a small fee from fellow Swedish side Landskrona, 23-year-old central midfielder. He's joined for £78,000. He was transfer listed, they just weren't playing him. I think he's good enough to play for us, kind of on a fringe basis, which so far he's played once. We have gone over to Mali to sign Mambe Keita for £100,000 and immediately loaned him out. He's obviously one for the future because right now he's not very good, but needs some game time. Hopefully he's going to get that playing for Degerfors this season. Next season, obviously, probably going to loan him out again. We've gone back to our old stomping ground and signed Lars Lundgren from Helsingborg and then immediately loaned him out to Christian Sand. He's come in for £190,000, which is possibly on the steep side for a youngster, but he's Swedish and one for the future, and hopefully getting game time this season will make him improve. We've also gone back to our former stomping ground of Helsingborg via BK Häcken and signed Johan Barchen, 24 years of age now, Swedish central defender, signed for £400,000. Obviously, he was formerly our player at Helsingborg, moved to BK Häcken on a free. We've picked him up for £400,000 because he's Swedish. I needed more Swedish players, and Barchen, he's good. He's all right. I say he's good. He's all right. £400,000 might be a bit steep. And speaking of things that are a bit steep, we've spent £1.4 million on Lazar Rajkovic, the Serbian goalkeeper with one cap to his name. We needed to get ourselves a starting goalkeeper because the 3 that we had, whilst they were doing all right, we needed somebody a little bit better, basically. Yes, he has cost a lot of money, 1.4, possibly going higher than that, I believe. But I think we've got ourselves a good keeper here. He's a good player, right? But our biggest signing of the summer, and I believe most likely Mjällby's biggest signing ever, is Rui Ricardo. He has come in for £2.7 million from BK Häcken. I wanted to spend less on him, but they basically wouldn't accept anything less than his minimum fee release. And I think he's going to be really good. 21 years of age, 3.5-star current ability, possibly 4.5-star potential ability. However, there is one massive problem with Ricardo, and I didn't realise until after I signed him. He's played for 2 different teams this season. He's played for Estoril on loan, and he's played once for BK Häcken, and now we've signed him. So we can't play him until next season. £2.7 million just sat there. And because of it, I went and decided to buy this man, Simeone Barsanti, on a free transfer, formerly of Fiorentina. He's cost us nothing. He's basically come in to fill the gap for 6 months. Yes, he's on a 1.5-year contract, but he's there for 6 months. And then we'll probably look to sell him over the end of the season because he's not going to be needed next year because Ricardo will be able to play for us. So that is our transfer window. We spent £5.5 million, 2.7 of which we can't actually use yet. We've loaned out a bunch of players. We haven't sold anybody more other than Dominguez and Galamba. And when it comes to competitions, we are still second place in the table, joint on points, but we are behind on goal difference, and also they have themselves a game in hand. We are also down in 27th in the Europa League because it's not kicked off just yet. We can actually take a quick look to see who we're going to play on. Is LASK, Dinamo, Wolfsburg, Rapid, Servette and Anderlecht. So 6 very tough games. I don't think we're getting through the group stage this time around. Obviously, last year was the Europa Conference League. This time is the Europa League proper, and I think we might struggle with those. Just to confirm as well, nobody's getting locked in for the final part of the season. And before we go, let's take a quick look then at the coefficients. So we did not move ahead of Portugal in the end. They managed to stay above us for now, although we are already looking likely we're going to jump ahead of them unless something bad happens or something good happens, basically. Portugal are losing a 16.75. We're losing just an 11.3. So right now we're going to jump up. That's not right. Right now we're going to jump up to 7th place if everything stays this way. Obviously, competitions haven't really kicked off just yet. But I am very, very hopeful that we can move up in those rankings. Also, I've just seen Sweden at 18th in the nations, in the world rankings, which is good to see. Have they won anything yet? I feel like they haven't won anything. They've won the Olympic Games in 1948, so no, they haven't. Right, let's jump forward then to the end of the season, see how well things go. Can we win the league, or will we basically just drop down the table a little bit and finish in the European spots, which I'm kind of okay with. Obviously, I want to win the league. 1 point. That's all it was. It was 1 point between us and Helsingborg. We finished second place. We qualify for the Champions League, which is just ridiculous with this Mjällby side. But we do not win the league this time around. Elsewhere in the Europa League, we are not in the top 8, but we are 14th. We've got 3 wins, Anderlecht, Rapid and Dynamo, a draw against LASK, 2 defeats against Servette and Wolfsburg. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we might actually have 2 more games to play. We do. We have AZ and Fenerbahce next season. So we're getting very close to actually winning things, but not winning anything. We are basically the perennial bridesmaid with this Mjällby side, which I'm not okay with, but it's good in a way because it shows that we are good enough to do things well. I've just seen Nicholas Skold as our top goal scorer, 19 goals in the league, 21 in all competitions, I think 25 technically in all competitions once you include the Swedish Cup. I mean, I don't think he played a huge amount. 19 starts that season, 30 starts this time around. So because Ricardo couldn't play for us, Skold kept his place in the starting 11 and actually scored a lot of goals, which is good. Just want to sort by goals again as well. So Lundberg gets 19 and 15 assists as well. That's a lot. He's very good. Mentally, he is very, very good. Bengström as well. He's done all right, 10 and 16. Although if you look there, it's 14 and 17. Chris Miller, who got 9 and 5 apparently, although he's unregistered, so he's not in the Europa League squad for some reason. Youngster as well, Badu, getting 7 goals, 9 assists from right back, although maybe he might have played right wing. In fact, looking at it, he scored twice from right wing against Dynamo. He also scored from right wing against Osters and from right wing against Rapid. So that's going to do it for this season. Next time around then, it is going to be Season 5 with Mjällby. We're going to be in the Champions League. I want to win something with Mjällby. Be that the league, be that the Swedish Cup, be that the Champions League. It's not going to be that one. But I want to win something, okay? That has to be our target. Financially, we've got £1.8 million to spend, although we've got 8.4 in the bank. So hopefully we should have around 5 million, maybe more, in our transfer budget for next season.